Hi, welcome back. In this session, we are going to develop a REST service to take XML payload as a input over the HTTP request. Then we will use those XML fields to update into a database table. So, assume in an organization, employee has resigned. Then HR wants a service to update the employee status as inactive. So for that, we are going to develop a REST service which URL looks like as emp sapi update employee and which is of put operation. Since we are going to do update operation, we will take the HTTP method as a put. And in the request body, we are going to send this XML payload which has employee ID, employee status. So based on the employee ID, we will make employee status to inactive. And for the same service, we are going to respond back in the header as 200 OK. And in the response body, we will respond back the status has 100, message as success. Let's see the same. In last session, we have created emp sapi project and also have how we can work with database insert operation. In the same project, I am going to create one more REST service. Let's right click on source main mule, new, choose mule configuration file and give it as update employee. Click on finish. Let's go to HTTP module and drag and drop a listener connector here. And in last session, we have created HTTP listener configuration. For this configuration, I am going to choose same because I have the base path until emp sapi is same in the URL. We can make use of the same HTTP configuration, that is HTTP to 8091, then base path. The difference between create employee and update employee is subpath, but the base path is same. Now let's go to studio, click on OK. Let's go to update employee and give path as update employee. And the HTTP method is going to be put for the update operation. Let's save it and let's have this listener name as update employee listener. Let's save and let's introduce a start log and make it as start log and give here as started update employee flow. Let's save it. Now let's drag and drop the database connector. So under database module, we have a connector called update to do the update operation on top of the database. So I wanted to update a table is emp. So I wanted to update the employee status based on the employee ID. So let's write the query here. Before that, we need to have database configuration. In last session, we have created the database configuration. Let me show you that. Here we taken a Oracle JDBC driver, then host, port, username, password and instance. Click on OK and go to update database call and form the query here. So that would be update table name, then set emp status equal to, let's give the named parameter as emp status, where emp id equal to, put the placeholder for emp id. Now we are going to map these values from input payload. So click on fx, make sure you will be clicking on fx, put braces, then map these placeholder values from input payload. So I have already formed the request here for update employee let's choose the root element first, then payload dot root element dot emp status. Let's copy it and put here. And now we need to map the input data for emp id. Emp id, then put payload dot employee dot employee id. Save. So we are done with the update database code, and next we need to respond back the response as XML response, since we are getting input as XML request. So we should respond back it as XML payload. Then how we can form this response payload? For that we need to get this response payload into a .xml file, then provide that as a outbound metadata in transform message, then hardcode the values. I already have saved this into one XML file. Let's go to the file location, and in this I have created a XML document. If I click on edit with Notepad++, this is the response we are expecting. Now let's drag and drop a transform message activity here and make this as a set response, and I am going to load the outbound metadata which we want to respond back from here. Click on define metadata, click on add, update employee response, create type, and choose XML. Now let's choose example, since we have example. Browse it, and I have this under employee folder, so let's go there and update employee response. Now it will show us the metadata here. Seems this has some error. Let me quickly check. Here the status should be closed, but I given some wrong tag here. Let's save it. Now go to studio and again browse it. Go to the location of the file and provide it. Now we can see the expected payload metadata here. Click on select. Somehow it is not populating here, but we can write it manually. So the root element we want to has is response, so it should be response colon, and in this we want to respond back as status as 200 and message has success, and which should be a XML. Let's make it as XML and save it, and let's introduce a log here and make it as end log, and say here completed update employee flow. Let's save it and debug it on debugging mode, and let's put a breakpoint here. The application has deployed. Now let's have a look at database records that we have 100, 101, 102. Assume John has resigned, so HR wants to make John employee details as inactive. So HR can make use of the REST service that we developed, and 101 is the employee ID. Let's go here and put 101 and update status to inactive. Click on send. Request came. Click on next, 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 finish. We can see the response as XML response. Now let's go to database and check for the 101 employee the status. Now the status became inactive. So this way we work with updating database by developing a XML input based REST service. That's all about this session, and see you in next session. Happy learning.